This video that I'm showing you all today is going to be a little bit different than previous ones. Like before with other games I've shown you all on this channel, I've played them before, or I've had conversations with others about the game. Though with the game I'm talking about today, this is my first time playing it, and it's also the first time I'm going to be talking about it with others. Though before I talk about the subject of today's video, I do want to talk about the studio behind it. That studio being PlayStation's former Japan studio, which was founded back in 1993, and which would go on to create numerous of Sony's mascots. The studio was known for developing numerous charming games like Ape Escape, Parappa the Rapper, Loco Roco, Astrobot, Knack, Everybody's Golf, which I've heard is a phenomenal game. I haven't played it, so maybe one day I'll get a chance to. Though Japan Studio has these charming and bright games, they weren't afraid to get a little bit more mature with their titles. Games from the Team Ico division within Japan Studio, bringing us games like Ico, Shadow of the Colossus, The Last Guardian, Team Siren, another division within the studio, bringing us horror games like, well, Siren. Japan Studio would also be a part of bringing us one of the best games of all time in my opinion, and that being Bloodborne, the game that got me into the Soul series and a huge appreciation for world design in video games as a whole. Now, those are just some of the games Japan Studio have worked on, and there's plenty more, but there is one in particular I've still not mentioned. A game that a lot of people hold in high regard, and the game that I'll be talking about today. That game being Gravity Rush. Unlike the previous games I've talked about, and I've loved all of the ones that I have, I can't say the same. Though I enjoyed Gravity Rush, I didn't love it, which is really sad, because I really wanted to. Gravity Rush, released back in 2012 on the PlayStation Vita and re-released as an HD remaster back in 2016 on the PlayStation 4, the story follows Kat, a girl who woke up with amnesia, trying to figure out who she is, what's going on, and what her role in the world she lives in is. Along the journey, you're placing back parts of Hexville while helping the citizens living there and defending them off from beings known as Nevi. Across the journey, you'll come across characters like Dusty, Raven, Sid, Gade, and Cyan, and of course our protagonist Kat, who, even though isn't my favorite character, that goes to Raven, I can't help but love Kat as a character. Her bubbly personality and just upbeat mindset and wanting to do the right thing just always fills me with joy whenever she's on screen. Aesthetically, the world of Gravity Rush is gorgeous, each district of Hexville having their own unique personality to them in my opinion. Aldnoir is this cozy old town where Kat lives, the whole world just having a nice warmth to it. Plednu is the entertainment district of the world filled with bars and stores and an academy for some reason. Industria being the manufacturing district where the more industrialized aspect of the world gets to shine, also home to a really annoying boss fight, but don't worry, we'll get to that combat soon enough. Finally, there's Vindex Center, the downtown area of the game and where Hexville government operations happen. Now, graphically, the game was released on the Vita back in 2012, and the Vita was no underpowered handheld. With an HD remaster released on the PS4, some of the blemishes can be seen, but that doesn't mean the game isn't gorgeous. Throughout the game, there's this constant comic book aesthetic being presented. This is especially seen within cutscenes, but this can also be seen in the game's world design. When going to a new location, the buildings are always filled with solid color, while outlines of buildings can be seen, giving it this really unique design I haven't really seen anywhere else, except in, oddly enough, the Watchmen comics. Now, while the game aesthetics and story kept me playing, there was one aspect of the game that kept me from loving this game, and at points making me want to stop playing entirely, that being its main point of traversal and combat. With a title called Gravity Rush, you obviously expect the use of gravity to be at play, and well, it is. Now, traveling through this game most of the time is fantastic. It is a little odd at first, and something that takes a bit of getting used to. And for all my easily motion sick viewers, I apologize for today's video. Now, the world is big enough for traveling around it to be fun. I'm particularly fond of the game's sliding mechanic. At times, however, with the R1 button being your main use of traveling with the gravity function, there are times where I get easily disoriented and I lose place of where I'm going. This is easily shown in the game's time trials, where at times I get lost easily. For a game about gravity shifting, you would think you'd also be in a constant state of flow, but there's a lot of stopping and going. Now, I can look past all of this, but when it comes to the game's combat, that's something I just can't. For a game like this and how it plays, you would think it'd be a puzzle platformer, but it's not. This game has combat, and it's just not working for me. Most of the time, combat for the most part feels highly repetitive, and is just no longer interesting after the first few hours. There are special moves Kat can learn, but they're on a charge, which take a while to recharge, and it just doesn't make up for most of the combat. Now, there are times when using the gravity kick and landing blows on enemies feels great, and you feel really powerful, but a lot of the times when you're landing, the hit is actually the challenge of the game. See, using the gravity kick requires you to lock on an enemy, and while that's fine and all, the lock-on isn't perfect. See, when locking onto an enemy, enemy, it puts you into the direction of that enemy. But the enemy may move suddenly and send you flying in the completely opposite direction and forcing you to have to readjust yourself. This can be seen with enemies that float in midair, being especially annoying, or in the boss fight with Raven, where an enemy in constant motion requires lock-on, but that lock-on just won't remain on the enemy. The same goes for the finisher move. In every boss fight, once you've done enough damage to a boss, a prompt comes up on screen requiring you to perform a finisher. And while that's fine, the prompt wouldn't register and causing me to have to redo sections of the boss over again. This can be seen in my fight with Alias, though hit detection doesn't always work in the game as well. It may be on me making the mistakes and not the game, but from my experience, this is what it's been like. I'm sure there will be people defending the combat system, and that's totally fine. Gravity Rush is a game, for the most part, I really enjoyed. I love the setting, art direction, music, and characters. In the beginning, traversal can be cumbersome, but does become more natural as time goes on, and combat just never really did anything for me, and at times made me want to stop playing entirely. Though, I want to love this game. There is a sequel that I haven't played yet, and won't get around to playing one day. Though, sadly, I know there won't be any more Gravity Rush games or games from Japan Studio. Because in 2021, the studio went defunct, Sony feeling that they need to focus more on Western audiences than going back to their Japan studios like they were in the early 2000s and late 90s. The developers from various divisions of Japan Studio have gone on to form their own studios or work on new projects. While I may not have enjoyed all of Gravity Rush, I am excited to see what its sequel holds, and I can't help but feel the love that was once Japan Studio is held within this game. I want to thank everyone, like always, for watching me talk about weird games on the internet. If you like what you saw, then if you wouldn't mind clicking that like button down below, it's greatly appreciated. And if you want to see more, feel free to subscribe. Until then, I'll see you all next time. Be safe and have yourselves a good one.